to Afternoons Live with Tyler Axness. You may hear a different voice. That's because I am Dane DeKrey filling in for Tyler. Some say filling in, I say leveling up. Enjoy your afternoon off, Tyler. Let's see if we can take the reins on today's show. I am a lawyer in Fargo-Moorhead, and I am here to have some conversations with people around town that are doing things that interest me, and I want to share that with you. My first guest today is Logan Midthun. He's the West Fargo District Activities Director. Before that, he was an activities director in both Minnesota and North Dakota. And before that, he was losing to me in Sega Nintendo in his parents' basement in Enderlin, North Dakota. My cousin, my best friend, and my first official guest. Logan, how you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on. I'm pretty excited about this.
Me too. Logan and I both had kids, and so to do the obligatory new baby talk real quick, is the boy doing well?
Oh, yeah. Baby Penn is doing great. He's about 6 weeks old right now. As you can see, I got a energy drink in front of me because not a lot of sleep is happening right now in the Midthun household, so we got to just get by however we can.
Everybody is healthy and good, though?
Yeah, everyone is healthy and good. Absolutely.
Good. Us too. Baby Vigo is 5 days old, and I, too, am working on very little sleep. So today is not my first time. If there's any mistakes, it's because I am a new father. We're going to chalk it up to that. All right, Logan, let's talk some real turkey here. I know that you and I could go back and forth as cousins and buddies all day, but I actually brought you on in your capacity working to this new 3-class basketball system proposal. Now, I am not from North Dakota. I was told to bring on North Dakota guests who talk about important North Dakota things, and apparently Class A, Class B basketball in North Dakota is one of the few topics that gets our KFGO listeners going. You are on the committee.
Yep.
Tell people what that is and what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, as you kind of referenced, the Class B and Class A basketball is one of the hottest topics in North Dakota when we're talking about high school sports, and specifically the Class B state tournament, what they call the crown jewel. You know, for years, the Class B state tournament, the B, was what, everybody attained to get to when you're from small town North Dakota. And I'm on the committee, and we went through the process last year and have actually gotten it approved. So starting this year, in about 3 weeks, we are going to be starting 3-division basketball in North Dakota for the first time. So it was a pretty fun process to be a part of. It certainly had its challenges, and it all kind of culminated last December when we went in front of the North Dakota High School Activities Association with our proposal. And, we did that in Valley City, and they actually had to move that meeting to a hotel in Valley City because it was such a highly attended event. And there's, an open speaking portion, and AD after superintendent, after school board member got up and spoke about it, whether they're for or against it. And so we're in it. And we've been working hard from last year now to this year to get all of our schedules set and all the logistics figured out.
I remember that. You were on WDAY 6 o'clock news, and Sev, my oldest son, said, there's Uncle Logan talking at what was that thing up in Valley City.
Yep.
So tell me why you guys, meaning the committee that you're on, supports this system. Because, you just mentioned all I've ever heard about is the B. Mm-hmm. And I watch it every year on local television. And I'm not a native North Dakotan, and I still watch it every year. Yep. And so I think some of the fear or some of the concern is, are we going to still have the B when there's now a B and a C? Or assuage my concerns, Mr. Midthun?
Yeah, I think just my opinion, obviously why I chose to be on that committee is because I believe in 3-class basketball. I think the landscape of basketball specifically has changed in the state of North Dakota. I think there's a larger gap between the big schools in Class A and the small schools in Class A, and I think there's a bigger gap between the big schools in Class B and the small schools in Class B. If we're going to compare, like even around our area, a West Fargo Cheyenne, one of my schools, 1,500 kids, to a Valley City, a school of just over 325 kids. I think that's a pretty big gap. And then I think at the Class B level, you look across the state and you got Central Cass, a pretty large Class B school in the same Region 1 with some small schools, like you said, my hometown, Enderlin. And I just think that people are reluctant to change when it comes to some things like this because of traditions. And I think there's still going to be the excitement with those tournaments. I think the Class B tournament, there's going to probably be some new teams that are going to make it. And hopefully those small communities are going to be excited about it and are going to want to come to those state tournaments. I think that middle level, the Class A division, is going to be really exciting when you have teams like Devils Lake, Central Cass, Dickinson Trinity, some of those traditional B powers or some of those A teams that are now going to have a chance to make a state tournament. That's going to be exciting too.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I came from Wyoming, which is a smaller population than North Dakota, and there's 4 class systems. And, I know being a part of a state tournament when I was in high school, you don't lose much from 2 tournaments to 4. And in fact, I think you gain stuff because, you talked about being from Enderlin. Your dad was the baseball coach there. My uncle, longtime listener, shout out to Brian Midthun. I remember him telling us stories when we were kids about the times you guys went to state for state baseball. And so to give more communities that opportunity to have that story more often, so it's not a once-in-a-generation thing, that's what I'm hearing that you guys are trying to do with this expansion of the classes. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of good timing that when I'm coming on for this, unfortunately last night I was at J.O. Theelges' funeral, who's a, successful athlete from Enderlin and a coach in the Fargo-Moorhead area here. And we told stories about when Enderlin made the state tournament in 1996, when they went up against Mayville in the first round and lost to the Claybo and those guys. And, being able to, that was 20-some years ago now, and we're still talking about that. And so that just shows how important it is to some of these communities to experience that. And so we're hoping to provide more opportunities, obviously.
So we've talked about, and I've heard mostly public schools that you mentioned. I think you did say Dickinson Trinity, which I believe is a private or parochial.
Yep, parochial.
Tell me where those schools fit into this program.
Yeah, that was being part of the committee. That was obviously one of the more contentious parts of the plan, and trying to figure out where do those private schools fit. And if you pull 100 people across the state, you're going to get a lot of different answers on where that should be. But right now, the way the plan is laid out, and I thought the High School Activity Association did a really good job with this, is if your school is within a Class A community and your enrollment is of a certain number, you're going to bump up to the next class level. So if your enrollment would put you at the B, but you are a parochial school within a Class A community, you're going to be bumped up to the Class A level. So i.e. Oak Grove, i.e. Dickinson Trinity, schools like that, they're going to be bumped up to that next level. Now, some schools like Shanley have opted up to go to the very top class because they're in the EDC. They're already playing those schools, and that's where they would like to be. But that was one of the harder parts to address, is where those parochial schools were going to fit in this plan.
Yeah. Tell me that logic for why you go up. I think I understand, but I wasn't in on those meetings, and sometimes I think I know more than I do. So I'm going to be careful to finish your sentences. But what is the rationale for putting the parochial and private schools in a metro up instead of keeping them the same?
They get to their district boundaries. Obviously, they get to draw from a very large area for their enrollment. They get to draw from your Shanley draw from the Fargo area, from West Fargo area. So because of that and the opportunities that maybe they have being in a metro area, is the rationale, I think, why that we would bump them up. So.
Yeah, and this is something that I always talk about and I joke about every state tournament, is this idea between urban and rural. Mm-hmm. We have family members in Glen Owen. I don't think, a family chooses to take their family out to live in Glen Owen but then go work in Bismarck. Mm-hmm. But that's very common in both Grand Forks, going down to Thompson, and Fargo going out to, Central Cass, and even sometimes Kindred or Northern Cass. So that is what I think, what I like about it, is this idea that, small town Class Bs get a chance to tell that 1996 story that you heard about last night.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, Logan, successful first guest. I have one parting question for you. I promised I wouldn't put you on the hot seat, but I am. Does Matt Entz need to win the Dakota marker to keep his job?
I knew you were going to have to come with one hot take type question here. In my opinion, no. I don't think he loses his job if he loses this game. I think there's obviously some things that NDSU needs to fix. And to be honest, I'm not a big NDSU guy. I didn't go to NDSU. I'll go to some games every now and then. And, every conversation I've had with Coach Entz has been a positive one. And so I don't think he does. Obviously, if this, in the next couple of years, if they keep trending in the direction they're going, I think he's going to be on the hot seat. But no, I don't think so right now.
Well, there's always a place for him at Cheyenne, should something go sour.
That's right. Yep.
All right, Logan Midthun, the West Fargo Director of District Activities, my cousin, my good friend. Thank you, sir.
Yep. Thanks for having me on, man. It was fun.
We'll be right back to Afternoons Live. Dane DeKrey filling in for Tyler Axness. Welcome back to Afternoons Live with Tyler Axness. I still am Dane DeKrey, and I'm still filling in for Tyler. I still have my cousin Logan Midthun on as my inaugural guest in my guest hosting career. I thought we only had one segment, ladies and gentlemen, so I went through most of the things that I wanted to speak with Mr. Midthun about. I got a little eager on the mic. We have two segments, I just learned, and I should have known that. I've been part of two segments, but I've never hosted two segments. So, Logan, we're going to have to do a little bit of ad-libbing here. I hope that you can keep up. I heard you mention, and I know this because I spent almost every summer with you in Enderlin, but I want to know, first of all, your experience in the two-class system and your record in what I believe is called the GOAT game. And for those listeners who don't know, give them an idea of what that is, and how you fared.
Yeah, so the GOAT game is the rivalry game between Enderlin and Lisbon in basketball. And we literally would play for a wooden goat. And the wooden goat is called Red Knob, and it's called Red Knob because the BON from Lisbon at the end and the DER from Enderlin at the front of that, Red Knob, is how that all came to be. And there's actually a dance and a cheer that fans do out on the court, hoorah for Red Knob, before the game. And I can say I did not win the GOAT game once when I was in high school. Lisbon went through a really good string of athletes there for a while, and we were in some pretty lean years in basketball in Enderlin at that time. In the last few years, Enderlin obviously has had a lot of publicity with the Hurlburt kids that one is on University of Colorado, and so they've fared well since I've left. But when I was there, man, Joe Kravachka and those guys absolutely just ate me up, and so we did not have great honest basketball teams when I was in high school. Like you said, Enderlin was a baseball town. We always had some success in baseball, but, we struggled a little bit in basketball.
Sure. And that gets me to a point that I think is on the back of the minds of some people who grew up in these communities, who have these rivalries that have been around for all these years with these weird trophies and these weird rituals. And their question to me or to you is, are those going to go away? What happens if Enderlin and Lisbon, which won't happen, but let's say it could happen, and one moves up and one stays down? How do we navigate that? Or are those going to be the same? Or are we going to lose the stuff that makes small-town North Dakota communities great by shifting these class systems?
I mean, that's a great question, and that was a concern a lot of people brought up to us as we're going through the three-class process. And I think there's still enough flexibility in your schedules as either whether you're at the Class B or Class A or Class even AA level, enough flexibility in your schedule. If you want to schedule those close rivalries, you still have the ability to do so. When I was the AD out in Killdeer, we had some great games against teams in our area, and talking to some former colleagues of mine out there, they wanted to be able to still play those games against the Hettinger Scranton and the Richardson Taylor and teams like that, Glen Ellen. They still want to have the ability to play teams like that. And the way the structure, the regions and everything are structured, you still have the ability to play those games because it's important.
I'm glad to hear that. It's good to know that it's not an either or. It can be both.
No, and I think if I'm looking at my schools in West Fargo, we need to also at the AA level embrace playing some schools that are smaller than us if it's going to be competitive. If you look at Kindred in the last couple of years, whether it's boys or girls basketball, in my opinion, we should be in West Fargo schools. We should be playing some teams like that for a non-conference game. I think those would be pretty competitive games if you look at how those teams have been structured. The game doesn't obviously mean anything for your for your region standings, but if it's going to be a good game and it's a team that's 10 miles down the road, let's play.
Well, that reminds me, too, of, I think you and I have gone to these games. I remember when North Dakota State would get asked to go play football against these big, fancy Power 5 schools, and they thought, oh, we're going to kick the crap out of them, and then little old NDSU won about 5 of them before everybody learned.
Yeah, nobody wants to schedule them.
Right. I mean, I can't imagine a better thing for at least the greater Fargo area for a great Kindred team to come and, put it on the burners or make it a game with Fargo Cheyenne or anything like that.
Yep, for sure.
All right, Logan, you have less than 30 seconds left. I'll give you the final word in the first interview of the Dane DeKrey show.
I would just say thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. We're going to have to do this again. So when you be a guest again, you invite me on, and we're going to do an even better job this next time.
Well, you make sure that Tyler has me back, okay, Logan?
Will do.
All right, folks, we'll be right back to Afternoons Live. Dane DeKrey filling in for Tyler Axness. Beginning to think that I'm